Hello, brothers. This is Mr. Ellis. I'm going to record a video for you. And in this video, I'm going to discuss how to declare and call methods, what the difference between certain methods are, what makes a method a procedure, and what makes a method a function, and how to return values from a method to the main menu. Okay, let's get started here. I should have something out here, right here. Okay. Uh, what this is I'm going to demonstrate first. Suppose you have code, which this is a block of code, that you would like to change so that instead of the free flow sequential execution of these system that print lines, we would call methods. Now, what this code does, and I'll click on it and show you, is it simply prints out this two stanza of a poem that I wrote back in the 80s concerning the Iraq War. Okay, you can see that it's all spilled into the console sequentially, one statement after the other. Okay, well, what I can do is I can create a method that holds this code until the method is called and then executes it. But because I've already coded these, it would be kind of a hassle to have to create the method, copy and paste. Uh, Eclipse will do it for you. It uses something called refactoring. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight the code that I would like to refactor. Okay. Then I'm going to right click, find refactor. In that selection and in that dialog, it has extract method because I want to extract a method. Then it asks me to name the method. I'm going to call mine, it's called Technobo. I'm going to call it Techno first. And you see the access modifiers here. I can go public, protected, package, or private. Okay. I'm going to go public. Click OK. There are no parameters passed. What happened to the code? Well, the code is now removed and placed outside the main. This is the main, whereas it was inside the main. It's placed outside the main in a method. Okay, this method's public, static, void means that it doesn't return a value. Its name, okay, it has no parameters and it doesn't pass any values back. It simply goes to this point, executes these statements in sequence, much like it did here, and then returns. And then it executes the next sequential statement. Okay, so what it's replaced with is the method call. This call, because it doesn't return a value, is simply a procedure call. It goes out, executes the task, and then returns, and then it'll go on and execute the next sequential statement. All right, so let's see how that works. I'm going to call that guy, and it looks much like the previous, right? Okay, it did print the first stanza and then the second stanza. Now, what if I wanted to hold in the reserve the second stanza and not execute it? Well, I could highlight it, right click on it, refactor, extract method, call it techno second. It's going to be a public. Click OK. And now we have two calls to two methods that have been created, techno second, techno first. And now I'm going to comment out just to prove to you that it is working. The second call, click, might help if I saved it. Click and run it, and you see I only get the first stanza. Okay. This will print the section of the text in the console, and this section will be a poem. Boom. Religious zealots a break with their throne. The king of Iran had lost his home. Okay. And now I'm going to reverse that and only execute the second method. Run it. There you have. The war was bloody, many lives were lost. Okay. All right, now that is all well and good, okay? And it's only refactoring is only good if you have code that is useful that you want to extract from the main and place it in a method. Refactoring works. Okay. However, what happens in a case where I do want to code a new method? Okay, I have to, one, place it in the correct location, two, plan how it's going to be called, and three, plan whether it's going to return a value or not. First, location. It should be outside the main. The header is declared, and the block of code is coded outside the main. If you'll see here that this is my main, okay? The method is called menu logic. Menu logic is called outside the main. It has one parameter. I'm going to pass the flag into the value of the flag into the method. Okay. Now, let's talk about passing parameters. In Java, parameters are passed by value. What that means is that the value of the variable that is used as a parameter is passed into the method. And because this is a Boolean variable, I have to accept it with a Boolean variable. Okay. And now whatever I do to that value inside my method does not affect the value of the flag that was passed in. Okay. That's called pass by value. The other way is to pass by reference. Other program languages do this. You pass by reference, and then the value location is passed, and whatever you do to that value inside affects the location of the variable. However, we pass by value, so there'll be no effect. This system.out, that print line will prove it. It's true when it's going in. It should be true when it comes out. Okay, let's look at the header. Header. It is public static void, which means that it's not going to pass anything back. It is menu logic is the name of it, and I have one parameter, a Boolean value W. Okay. Inside, I'm simply going to do a do while and print out the best teams for a certain sport like football, basketball, hockey. Okay, those three sports will be examined, and the best teams ever will be printed. And if the person chooses to exit, I'm going to exit by setting my flag to false and skedaddle. Okay. Default, I just want them to make sure that they choose a valid selection. Now, at this point, you could limit them to 3 attempts, and we'll come back and talk about that. I just want you to see the code work right now. Let me run it. Football. The best team is the New England Patriots. This is Mr. Allen's opinion. Actually, I think Pittsburgh's won more Super Bowls. Let's run it again. Shouldn't have to run it again. It's out there somewhere. There it is. Okay. 2, basketball. I don't know why, but it's running in the background, so I'm gonna start this over. I need it open when I run it. Okay, here we go. Start over. Where was I? Hockey. 3. The best is the Edmonton Oilers, 1985 Edmonton Oilers team. Okay. Obviously won more games, scored more goals. And then 4 is exit, and it exits. Now, there's a possibility that this loop can be infinite. The possibility is if you have a really ignorant user, okay? He doesn't choose any of the above uh, selections or correct selections, it can go through the default several times. The way you limit that is that you limit them to attempts. Now I'm going to show you. I personally would use a variable int, and I'll call it a as an apple. I'll set it to 0, and each time through the loop that he selects default, I will a plus plus, and then I'll do an if statement. If a is greater than or equal to, or just greater than 3, okay, then I'm going to give him a message. Send him a message saying goodbye. And then I'm going to set my flag to false. And that should limit him to 3 attempts in the invalid selection. So let us save it and let's try it. Okay, let's see. It says I have an error here. I don't see it here. Give me an error on my if statement. A is greater than 3. Let's see. It's not flag, it's W. Okay. W is the Boolean variable that I'm going to change when I pass it in. That's habit. Because of habit, Mr. Ellis made that error. Now it should run correctly. And let's try it. Okay, I'm just going to go straight to 4.1. Ooh. A starts at 0, gets incremented. Oh, I did exit. I selected exit. Sorry. Now, how's this code going to work? I'll select invalid selection. 5, 6, 7, and then on the fourth one, 8, it exits. Invalid selection, goodbye. And then the value of the flag is still true. Okay. The last demo is a demo of a function, a method that I call function. The function accepts values and returns a value. Okay, let's go over the code. There are two sections that I'm going to use. One returns its value to a variable. So I'm going to do that one first. Okay, and what it does is it prompts the user for his first name and his last name using JOption pane input dialog. Then it calls the function full name with those values. It passes the first name to X, the last name to Y. Inside, it takes those values, trims off any spaces, and places it in K. Last name goes to A. Then it constructs an output string using concatenation that will say Ellis Clifton, this is my name. It then returns that string to a variable W and writes W out to the screen. Now, this function returns its value to a variable. Let's look at how it works. Enter my first name and my last name. And it says last name, Jackson Ellis is my name. Okay? The thing to recognize is that the trim variable, let's run it again and show you what the trim variable does. The trim method, rather. I'm going to put some spaces in there before and after. I'm going to put spaces in before my last name and after my last name. And it trimmed off the spaces. What it does is it trims to a non-space character and returns that string. Okay, it's useful when using input from a user that you're not sure or you leave it open. You should always trim, and if you're case sensitive, you should always change to the case that you want, that you prefer. Okay, the last demo will show you a procedure that is a method that is a function. Okay, the function will return a value, but it won't return to a variable. It returns it to an output statement, a printf, and it uses the value from the function to print out. What this does is it prompts the user for a radius that's going to be used in a calculation to calculate the sphere of a volume. The method is called sphere_vol, and it will accept the double, calls it R. It uses that value in a calculation, and it returns that calculation in the variable f. When it returns not to a variable like this one did. It returns to an output statement and is used right in the output string. Here we go. I want to save this guy. I did some changing and run it. Okay, it says, what is the enter the value of the radius? I'm going to enter 5. It should return 523. 523. The output, the volume of a sphere with a radius of 5.00 is 523.60. Okay. Now let's run it again and enter a value that's let's go 25. Okay. I'm entering 25 as my radius. That's going to be a large volume. It says the volume of a sphere with a radius of 25 is 65,449.85. This has been Mr. Ellis, and the topic was method creation, method calling, and refactoring in Eclipse.